Well, it is official. Kyrie Irving, for the third time in less than 5 years, has broken the NBA universe, as this time he is heading to Dallas and one of the better trades I've ever seen, at least if you're a Mavericks fan. And however you feel about Kyrie Irving as an individual basketball talent, when he's on the court you have to recognize he can win you a quarter, a game, a series, and with adequate help, possibly another championship. And being a big Luka Doncic fan, this trade happening was Christmas in February. As the common theme this year, besides Luka being great, is the fact he had very little of any offensive help, and at the guard spot, he had no elite shot maker outside of himself. And speaking of elite shot makers, someone like Jalen Brunson and losing him was costly to Dallas this year, as without him, they were hovering around 500 for the entire season, with Luka carrying them. And speaking of Jalen Brunson, I view Kyrie Irving as Brunson on steroids. As when Kyrie's at his absolute best, he's like few offensive players we've ever seen. And this year, when it comes to ISO scoring, something very valuable in the playoffs, Kyrie ranks 4th at 6.2 points, compared to Luka, who ranks 1st. And looking at overall efficiency, shooting from the field on ISO shots, Kyrie is just under 56% and ranks 1st in the NBA at 61.8 on effective field goal percentage. I cannot overstate how important it is that Luka Doncic got one of the best ISO players of all time. And in a playoff series, getting a bucket is highly important and something Luka rarely had when it came to the playoffs. Now, looking at Dallas' roster in this trade, all they gave up was Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, and some draft picks. Holding on to Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood, Reggie Bullock, Dwight Powell, those assets will be highly important in the future. I'm not trying to overreact, but looking at Dallas' roster on paper, having Luka, Kyrie, Hardaway, Bullock, Powell, Kleber, Josh Green, I think offensively they'll be one of the best teams in the league. And when it comes to their shooters, playing with Kyrie Irving and Luka, their looks are going to get even easier. And for the Western Conference, as you guys know, it is wide open in 2023. That's why this trade, for many reasons, was so important, getting Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson on steroids. And looking at the Western Conference and the standings, Dallas right now is hovering in that play-in tournament playoff spot where they're on the border of being a legit team. And at the top is the Denver Nuggets, who are the most solid team and the clear-cut frontrunner in the conference. Below them, you have Memphis, a really young team with little playoff success. I don't really trust them late in games or make a deep playoff run. Below Memphis, you have Sacramento, who this year have been great, but defensively, they're like Swiss cheese. Below them, you have the Clippers, who at some point inevitably are going to clipper. And looking at the defending champion Warriors, Steph Curry right now is hurt, will be out a couple of weeks, and their overall roster cannot win a game on the road. Now last but not least, you have the Suns and Pelicans, who have a nice mix of two-way players, veterans, and young talent. The only problem, their two best players have been out for over a month. This Western Conference right here is wide open. I could realistically see 4 to 5 teams making the West Finals. That's why Dallas getting Kyrie is of the utmost importance. If Luka last year could make the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson, what can he do this year with Kyrie Irving? If Dallas catches a few breaks, avoids injuries, this team very easily could win the West Finals or even the NBA Finals. And for head coach Jason Kidd, having Kyrie Irving, a bona fide superstar who can carry the offense, having him and Luka Doncic stagger minutes is of the utmost importance. As in the playoffs, you don't want Luka Doncic with the ball every single possession. Something this year that has been in the butt time and time again. Now, looking at the biggest loser of this trade, you have Kevin Durant and their Brooklyn Nets. As right now KD is stuck in Brooklyn with a below average supporting cast that includes Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton, Dinwiddie, and Finney Smith. Not exactly the 2017 Golden State Warriors. And if I have to be blunt, which I will be, Brooklyn making this trade eliminates them from the Eastern Conference as a contender. And a team like Cleveland goes up a notch as a semi-contender that can make the conference finals. And looking at Kevin Durant, his time in Brooklyn has been absolutely miserable. As the first year, he missed the entire season, and the Brooklyn Nets didn't win a series. The second year, he played, but lost to Milwaukee. Last year, he was a first-round exit, and this year most likely will lose in the first round, or maybe the second round. When KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden all were on the same roster, absolutely nobody thought this team would not be successful. And nearly 2 years later, they're a dumpster fire and a laughingstock of the NBA. And if I had to say at this point, they are the Clippers of the Eastern Conference. And if Brooklyn goes nuclear and blows everything up trading Kevin Durant, this franchise will officially be cooked and should close shop. Now, most times in an NBA trade, there is a winner and a loser. But for this trade, there is a winner, one loser, and the biggest loser. And in my personal opinion, the biggest loser in this place is actually the LA Lakers. As for Lakers fans, they were absolutely desperate to get off Westbrook and get Kyrie Irving, as Kyrie quite literally was their last slice, their last glimmer, and their last crumb of hope. Without him, this Lakers team is absolutely bust and will be stuck in the basement of the Western Conference. And quite frankly, I'm glad Kyrie was not traded to this dumpster fire team, as LeBron is 38 going on 40, and AD is nearly 30 with the knees of a 78-year-old. I'm not saying Kyrie having a LeBron reunion wouldn't have been fun, but him in Dallas makes more sense for the basketball future. And hopefully this offseason, he resigns and stays in Dallas for at least 3 years. And the last thing I do want to talk about, which is the elephant in the room, is Kyrie Irving and his baggage. As in past stops in Boston, Cleveland, New York, he has some big time problems with the media, teammates, and even coaches. But if I have to bet, I am still betting on Kyrie being a great teammate and balling out in Dallas. He might get hurt, he might get injured, he might miss the playoffs. That could very easily happen. But if I had to bet on it, I would bet on Kyrie averaging 27-28 points, being a great offensive duo with Luka, and the Mavericks making a deep playoff run. So that right there was the 3 birds and 1 stone trade, with Kyrie going to the Mavericks. And once again, Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, he's helpless, might get traded, the Lakers are finished, and Luka finally has an offensive superstar in Mr. Kyrie Irving. I still want to see them on the court, but on paper, it looks pretty fantastic, at least offensively. Defensive-wise, this team might be the worst team in the league. When it comes to scoring and put on a show, the Dallas Mavericks 100% do that, and I can guarantee it. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.